Greetings, adventurers. Welcome to Dungeons&Discourse, a discussion podcast where we talk about everything Dungeons and Dragons related. I'm here, Walter, together with
Carlo, that's me.
Thank you. And today we will discuss the subjects of bards.
Yeah, episode 10. We made the arbitrary rule that every few episodes we do a class. So, we do barbarians. Now we'll do bards. Probably cleric is next. That doesn't really matter. Anyways, probably a topic you know a lot more about than me, so you'll probably lead most of the conversation, and I'll try to add some.
I've played quite some bards. I dare say they are my favorite class. Any spellcasting classes, in my opinion, have a bit more than the martials, but yeah, the bard. I've played a few. They're really fun. They're not much interesting on their own. I'll give you that.
I think actually the gameplay of bards is very, very nice because it's one of these classes that's really geared towards like buffing and helping your allies. So I think it's good for
definitely
group cohesion.
Enabler.
And it's not so much as a cleric where they are mostly like do healing and then maybe they have like a lot more supportive magic that does like radiant damage, they can still deal damage. I feel like bards is mostly in a support category, more so than these other classes.
Yeah.
So I think that's quite nice. And because they are spellcasters, they're also a lot more versatile, so you have more options.
I would say bards lean more into the crowd control aspect of fighting than clerics does.
Yeah, I think so too.
They are really, think of heroism, the spell where you give a couple of allies temporary hit points at the start of their turn.
Well, that would be buffs,
really
right? I think Carlo is more like
but
like silence, confusion, stuff like this.
Definitely,
but no other classes get that too.
Those are spells. Yeah. Those are, but the bread and butter of the bards, obviously. Gonna look in here. Bardic inspiration. How did I forget that? Bardic inspiration. The main ability of the bards. You get to add your bardic inspiration dice, which scales with level, but starts as a d6. To your or your allies, attack rolls, saving throws, and ability checks. So that's really versatile.
I think if you really think about it, it's not that versatile at all. Like the way you can use it, it is. But if you compare it to other like level 1 abilities, it does feel a bit limited, maybe. But I think the way that Bardic Inspiration shines is that it's something that is added to the class, and it kind of grows over time with level, so it's something that scales very nicely.
Yeah.
It's not like a Barbarian's Rages, where you only get like a couple extra, and then the function of it changes. Here you get more charges, and the dice increases.
I'll give a bit more context. The charges don't necessarily increase.
You get more, right? Because it scales with your charisma or something like
charisma.
This?
But not necessarily.
I suppose,
if you don't spec into charisma or
that's a good point.
lean into other things of the build. But mainly it does scale, indeed. The higher level you get. And they are d6s. They turn into d8s at 5th level. They turn into d10s at 10th level. And they turn into d12s at 15th level.
Yeah, I think that's quite nice, the scaling of it. But then something else that I think is cool is that it's one of these features that really integrates well into role-playing. Because Bardic Inspiration is literally like you inspire someone, and then they can later kind of use that to aid them. And the way that you, like, narratively as a sort of role-play thing can give this Bardic Inspiration is very nice. I've seen examples where, you can give someone a compliment, and that's like, oh, hey, here's some Bardic Inspiration. You can do, like, a little dance or, like, sing a song or whatever. I think that's very cool. It's one of these features that also adds something outside of combat, I think. That's very cool.
Yeah.
You can even give it to NPCs, just for fun. And then if you're, like, a DM, you can then later see how that may affect how these NPCs come back later. Maybe they have something important coming up, and you can maybe help them with that. Some things in the background as well.
It does have a limiter of use the resource within 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that makes it so niche, in my opinion, is that to give someone a bardic inspiration is a bonus action. Lower level, you're not going to do a lot of things with your bonus action, so it's a really good resource. But then again, at lower level, you don't regain your bardic inspiration on a short rest. Not yet.
Yeah.
I have to look in the book for that. I think that starts at level 5. Font of Inspiration.
Yeah, I think that's actually a good point that you make. That also, if you look at how this bardic inspiration evolves, I feel like early game when there's not many bonus actions, it's a nice feature to throw out, so you feel like you can do more than just attack as a bard. But then later in the game, when the bonus becomes a lot higher, it can make a more meaningful difference. And then when you can use other bonus actions, you get to have more of a choice. Should I use my bonus action to maybe use this magic item or something else you can use? Or is it more important to provide my ally this potential plus 12 to this attack roll because we really need it? So I think the way the ability evolves naturally because of its mechanics is also very cool. I think it's almost, I don't know if this is like a take I should just throw out there, but I think it's one of the better designed abilities within Dungeons & Dragons.
Yeah, it scales very properly as well. That's something you mentioned. Yeah. Quite some of subclasses lean into giving the bard something extra to do with its bardic inspiration dice. A big one, probably everyone knows, is Cunning Words. That's from the College of Lore. Instead of empowering someone, you can
demotivate, I guess.
Demotivate, give someone distraction. Yeah, you for completion. This is an ability when you see someone making an attack roll or an ability check, you can throw your inspiration die and do a minus instead.
Yeah.
And this can be used as a reaction.
Yeah, I think, is it every subclass that gets like a bonus to bardic inspiration? Or is it just a few?
Not every.
That could have been a missed opportunity.
Some add things to when you use your bardic inspiration.
Oh, it's like a little boost on top.
Yeah.
I think that again kind of reflects how well this feature works, is that it can evolve based on your subclass as well. Because it makes that choice maybe not necessarily more meaningful. I think they're like dogs barking? What the fuck's going on?
Yeah, welcome to my place. There's a lot of dogs in the neighborhood.
Oh, great. I hope the audio doesn't pick up. Even if it doesn't, then now I talked about it and it's still distracting. Anyways, I think it's cool that even if it doesn't make the choice of subclass that much more meaningful, because you get like a little feature on top of your bardic inspiration, it does allow you to make your to make this subclass shine throughout also these little actions, like giving a bardic inspiration away, which is quite nice.
I must say, the subclasses in general give a really nice variation to each bard. You can lean into an enchantment bard. You can lean into secretive bards, which College of Whispers, for example. You can go full wizard style and go College of Lore. You get like a lot of spells that you shouldn't, or more additional spells that are normally not in the bard spell list. That's a really powerful ability as well, which the bard also gets at later levels. I must advise the book over here for it. Magical Secrets, level 14, 18. Yeah, level 14 and 18, you get to choose spells which are not in the bard spell list.
Oh.
College of Lore gets to do that before.
Interesting. I feel like that's almost... yeah, maybe this is something that kind of like...
This can make the bard really versatile.
I think this is almost a gripe that I have with D&D that kind of goes beyond the scope of talking about bards, where I feel like, in general, how you pick spells based on your subclass or class that you pick feels a bit constraint, limiting. It's important for balance, right? If you take the cleric, then your subclass allows you to pick or prepare certain spells, sometimes outside of your class list. It's also true for, I think, some druid subclasses. I'm sure there's a bunch more that I can think of. I feel like these features should be more prominent. So I think it's almost a shame that the feature comes very late for bards, because it's kind of nicer to be able to personalize your spell list a bit more early rather than later, I think. Because usually you don't really play at those high levels. At least it's not my preference, and I assume that most DMs don't like it either.
But I think that niche is covered with the College of Lore.
Yeah, but you shouldn't have to take one specific subclass if you want to personalize your bard, right?
I mean, the option is there, but there's also a lot of fun other subclasses which can do not only bring a lot of favor but a lot of power as well. So it's I think it's a fair. I don't think the bard lacks customization in this way.
No, I don't think it's something that's lacking. I think it's more a critique that I'd carry throughout most of the
D&D. I agree with you that other classes maybe lack these things.
You mean customization?
A bit more customization, yes.
I guess maybe you're right in that regard. But I think most of them do have it covered, but there's like some where it's not as good.
I disagree with the bards.
No, I think it's more of a general gripe. I think overall the bard doesn't have this problem. But I think for spells, I feel like the feature comes too late. But then you could make this case for almost every class. Although maybe most of them do have the option to get more spells, right? Wizards can put them in their book. Clerics get them through their subclass. Because druids have some ways to do it. Not sure about sorcerers.
Sorcerer, you have Divine Soul Sorcerer.
Yeah, but it's once again on a subclass. I don't really count that. I feel like if it's in the main class, it kind of counts. So for Bards, it's there, but it comes too late.
I believe with Warlock, you can get Eldritch Invocations, which allow you to extend your spell list.
Yeah, that counts.
So
maybe it's not even that fair of a critique then. Yeah,
I see your critique indeed, but I disagree somewhat on that point.
Yeah, no, it also goes a bit outside of the scope of Bards, so maybe we shouldn't really focus on that. I'm trying to think. I didn't really prepare that much. I don't have the book in front of my face either. But if there's any other like main class features that we should really zoom in on, like I think they get something like Song of Rest, which is a bit more passive healing, or you can use more hit dice or something like this. That's kind of nice.
At second level, the bard gets Jack of all trades.
Oh yeah, that's a huge one as well. Indeed, that's also something I like about bards is that they this is once again an area where they shine through outside of combat, where they get like expertise and they get bonuses on their.
They get a lot of expertise.
Skill checks through Jack of all trades. I think that's really cool too. It's a class that's really can also shine if you have a campaign that's not that combat oriented. Mm-hmm. Like especially because you both get skill checks and you also get enough spells that can function outside of combat, like suggestion, things like this. Another thing where this kind of shines through is through the expertise the bard gets.
Definitely.
I believe it's level 3 and 10, you said earlier?
Yeah. At level 3 and later at level 10, they get to choose 2 and another 2 at level 10 skill checks for expertise, which doubles your proficiency bonus in a certain skill. This in combination with Jack of all trades makes sure you are not bad at anything.
Well, I think that's
very good at a certain thing.
I think that's mostly Jack of all trades that helps with not being like bad at anything. But I think where this expertise really comes in is once again this personalization. Because now if you want to be a more stealth-focused part, you can put your expertise in stealth, maybe sleight of hand. So you can maybe be not as good, but at least compete with rogues. The more typical one would be to put it into persuasion and deception to really be able to more properly convince people. You could also put it in performance to really like roleplay this bard that can like sing all these crazy songs and these dances or whatever. So I think that's very nice about it. But even if you want to like do something really weird, you could put it in athletics and do like more of a strength-based build where you do like pushing people, grappling. There's even potentials there, which I think is very nice.
There is a Bard subclass which focuses a bit more on swords and fighting as well. It's definitely not a good martial, but it's the Bard flavored martial.
Yeah, I think it's really nice that you can go into all these different avenues, and that I think they all can function. I mean, if you want to do a personalized concept, usually you're still better off picking the class that kind of represents that. But I do like that you can kind of play a bard and fit that into a very large amount of archetypes. I feel like that's very unique, at least.
I want to go back on the Song of Rest, the extra healing you mentioned earlier. Because I think that's an example of an ability that scales quite nice as well. Because it scales a bit worse than your Bardic Inspiration. Or not a bit worse, it scales the same, but like 2 levels later. So at 15th level you get the Bardic Inspiration of D12, and at 17th level you get the Song of Rest D12.
So it adds like extra hit dice or something you can regain?
Yeah, when you take a short rest, you can give a performance. And this small performance, whether it is a song, a manuscript, a poem you read, gives people resting some extra bolstering in their rest. So they regain an extra, D6 or D8, D10 or D12.
Oh, the amount of dice stays the same, which is that you get like slightly more hit points.
The amount of dice stays the same, yeah.
I feel like that's almost negligible. Like changing it to a D8 from a D6 is like two more hit points at most.
I'll say that we don't really do a lot of short rest in our campaigns.
That's true. So, I think it's difficult, right? Because it's
definitely
the golden standard according to the rulebook is where you have like 8 encounters a day. Mm-hmm. If you want to do that and fit that inside of one play session, it's very difficult to do. You can stretch it out and do like more combat encounters over multiple play sessions, but then it's like hard to get continuity going if you have weeks in between them.
The thing we're saying,
it doesn't come up that often.
You're quite dismissal of the ability, but then you also have to recognize we do not use hit dice as a proper resource.
It's fair. I think if you use more short rest campaigns, it is nice, the healing. Yeah. But I still think like going from like a D6 to a D8 doesn't do that much. I think it's like it's nice that it scales, but it feels a bit off maybe.
It's extra healing. You definitely do not want to underestimate this. Definitely, if you only regain half your hit dice on a long rest, well, that is the rule as written.
I think in long term it makes a difference because, I mean, if you compare like a D6 or to a D12 later, then there's a difference, of course, right? But I think each step up in between like 4 or 5 levels, it doesn't feel that big. But maybe that's just me zooming in on the wrong things. Right?
I understand, but you get to add the same thing if you roll 10 hit dice. You get to roll 1d12 extra, or if you roll 1 hit dice, you get to roll 1d12 extra.
Wait, what?
When you take a short rest,
yes,
you can choose to regain hit points by rolling your hit dice.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And no matter if you choose how much hit dice you consume, you will always get this bonus.
Yeah, but if you also if you take 0, right? Or do you need to use hit dice to get this?
You do need to use hit dice.
Okay, so it's also balanced for that, where you still need to use your hit dice. It's not like it saves on those either. Only if you use multiple, which in most cases it's going to be the case, I guess. I think it's just a bit of balancing thrown in there.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to throw 10d12 extra on the Song of Rest if I throw 10 hit dice. That's just going to be completely out of skill.
No, of course. So it's one on top. Like if you roll, it's one extra. Yeah.
So if you heal,
what point are you trying to make with that?
If you heal a little bit, if you are more sparing in your resources, this payout is going to be bigger.
Well, I think there's always going to be some kind of payout, right? Because long rests regain half your missing hit dice, so you're always going to get hit dice back. So you should always have 1 or 2 available. Generally, if you take 2 short rests every session, you should be able to, at minimum, you have a dice left over at any point, and then be able to benefit from the feature as well.
Yeah, there are certainly ways that you can exhaust hit dice via spells or features.
Oh, that's true as well.
So if you're keen on keeping track of hit dice and using them optimally, the Bard is and the song with the ability of Song of Rest is definitely something for you.
I mean, it helps. I don't think it's a standout feature.
It's a resource that you need to be aware of.
Yeah, sure. I don't feel like Song of Rest is like the core and heart of the Bard or whatever.
No,
so probably already
definitely.
Yeah.
Just like that, it's very niche. It can be very valuable, but it's not always relevant. Just like the counter charm feature of Bard.
I don't even know what that is.
Are you aware?
Nope.
Right. You can break out into a magical song, hum, or trance, which you and your allies can participate in. I have to quickly look up the area of this. The counter charm. Yes, you and friendly creatures within 30 feet of you gain advantage on saving throws against being frightened or charmed. So, it does not specifically say this uses an action or a reaction. So it's just a thing you can do, like secondary in combat, like casting spells and doing bonus actions, giving bardic inspirations to people, and also having this counter charm.
I think it ties into this support role of the Bard even more, right?
Definitely.
One of these effects that can be very devastating within D&D is monsters that have these abilities that can kind of disable players from participating into a fight.
So if someone gets another player.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, frightening and being charmed, charmed is like a worse version where in some cases they can even end up becoming your enemy temporarily, where you have to fight your party members. For frightening, it's more like a disabling thing where you can still do some things. But I think the ability to prevent this from happening as often through giving advantages is very good as well. Mm-hmm. And I think the fact that it's a bonus action, you kind of have to decide when to use it as well. I think that's very nice. Or did you say it was a bonus action?
No, it does not say.
Oh, it's a free action. Just it doesn't really matter. Either way, I think it's a cool feature that solidifies what the Bard is.
It does not mention a resource. It does not mention a time. It just says you can end it at will.
Nah, I'm sure there's something in there.
Yeah. Oh yes, it is an action to start, and it lasts until you want to.
Yeah.
So if you want to, you can start this at the start of the day, and never end it.
Oh, okay. So it's like a permanent thing. I'm not sure I like that if it's a permanent thing. It also seems like really strong. I feel like you're not reading this properly.
Oh no, fuck, no, I am not.
Okay, maybe we shouldn't say anything about things we don't know.
Last until last turn. Last until the end of your next turn.
Okay, maybe we shouldn't discuss these things if we don't know what the fuck they are in the first place.
Oh, definitely.
No, not definitely, because you just did that. So
yeah. No, I'm sorry. I think I got this mixed up with the paladin ability.
I don't know enough about that to contribute about paladins. No.
This is an ability that paladins also gets.
Oh, I see.
But then it's an aura, and I think I'm reading it now. It's an action, and it lasts until your end of your next turn.
Okay, cool. But let's move on from this. I don't know if there's any more features we should discuss. We're like 25 minutes in right now. We want to do another segment.
Excuse me. I am human. But this is indeed stupid. mistake I made.
No, it's fine. Let's not zoom in on it. So, I don't know. I feel like, as far as abilities and the way the class functions, I think it's very nice. I'm sure there's features we've missed that we haven't talked about, but I also don't think it's too important to
not much
fixate on any one of them, because I think it's the way they interact together what really makes the Bard a solid class. The one thing that I don't like about it is the I don't know if this is the right word for it, like the framing of it. I think it's very weird to have all these warriors, right? You have barbarians, fighters, rangers, and you have these spellcasters like wizards, warlocks that can add to combat, and then you have this other class, Bard, which historically is just people singing, using that to tell stories, spread information. Maybe it's even some journalist pins you can do on the Bard. It feels weird to have these running around with, all these murder machines also helping out. It's weird to give them this strange magical twists to make it a playable archetype.
I definitely disagree with this. Because in my experience, in my interpretation of the Bard, it's basically just a wizard that studied magic, not of the weave, but of the words, more primal, more. It's a very thing that they learn is the breath of creation. Every breath, every word spoken has power to it.
Oh, I get what you're saying, but it's all buzzwords, no?
But they still have to study for their magical things.
Yeah, so mechanically they're wizards. They're just reflavored. And so for some reason, when you reflavor it in a specific way, it becomes a bard. I think I have a similar gripe with warlocks and sorcerers, warlocks do function very differently for the way their spell slots are set up. But I feel like there's not that many differences between sorcerers and wizards, except for sorcerers get this sorcery point minigame they can do. I feel like it's very little mechanically distincting the bard. And if you look at it narratively, saying, oh, they learned magic through just, working hard, trying their best, that's, if you boil it down, very similar to how a wizard does it. And then what they say is, well, the means is different because wizards have the weave, which is tied to this god, Mister.
Yeah.
And then for bards, it's creation and I don't even know. It feels like it's phrased very weirdly. It feels like you're throwing in buzzwords to justify it.
No, the breath of creation is an actual form of worship in D&D lore. I just picked it from the book just now.
No, but
so
Mistra is a god too that's worshipped. She's the goddess of magic, right?
I understand, but
bards have a different god they get magic from.
How the very words spoken mean power, and
that doesn't say that. That sentence doesn't mean anything. The very word spoken is power. Okay, what?
I mean, how do you justify power word kill? Power word stun.
No, but you can say that about every spell, right? How do you justify conjuring a fireball from thin air? It's magic.
True, but
I feel like if we add context to every form of magic, there's some kind of meaningful difference for each spellcaster. Warlocks have a patron, so they make a contract or a deal. Wizards have to study. Sorcerers get it through their bloodline. You could say that there's some distinction between clerics and warlocks, because clerics also get it from a deity, so in a way it's kind of like a patron, but there is a meaningful difference. Paladins get their oaths. Druids have I don't even know how it works with druids. They're just get it from nature or something. Maybe also there, that's something to look into, right?
Yeah.
I don't. Maybe it's ignorance too. Maybe I'm not too well versed enough on the topic. Actually,
magic. I agree with you that the wizard is very in its way of weaving the magic and pulling the strings of the weave to manipulate it, and that's a very
once again, just using buzzwords, right? Saying pulling the strings of the weave to manipulate it That's just that's some weird buzzwords to justify magic.
That's the thing the wizard does. But the bards, they study magic, but just in a different way. They do not interact with the weave much, or they interpret the weave as something different.
What do you mean they interpret the weave as something different? The weave is the weave, right? I'm sure there's many ways to draw magic from it, but there is like ways it works and ways it doesn't work. Because if you truly do say that the way they extract magic is different, and that would imply that the entire trait of being a bard is like a very different origin and it comes from different parts or whatever. But then, like as a whole world, you'd see wizards and bards collaborating way more, right? We would have to innovate and use these different types of pulling from the weave to get some like greater thing out of it. I feel like trying to justify bards being different than wizards introduces way more problems. It just something in there doesn't feel right. But then I admit that I also haven't like read up on it that much, so maybe there is a justification I just don't know about. It's just that reading the entries and trying to compare wizard to bards, they feel very similar in the way they're justified, and that is very odd to me.
You mean with the way they're justified?
Well, that's what I'm saying, right? Where they're both a learned craft, and then we throw in buzzwords to justify magic existing. But that also already moves away from the point that I think if you look at stories, bards aren't fighters. I mean, it's like an archetype now for like video games and Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, it's been there since 2nd edition, I think. Mm-hmm. But I think historically, they're not like the fighting people. I mean, of course, if you start talking historically, fucking wizards don't exist. So already there's a whole lot of problems like with that. But it just seems a bit strange to me. I don't know. I guess maybe that's almost me criticizing just the canon of the Forgotten Realms. And that's just me having a different preference of story writing. So at that point, it becomes even less justifiable. Maybe I'm just stubborn. I don't know. Do you have anything to add?
No, I just like to see you rant.
Yes.
I think you had your moments. Because the bard makes sense in my words, in my head. But yeah, maybe this is a good segment to slide into the monster of the week.
Yeah, I think it's something I should read more into. Now I'm kind of interested. I've fascinated myself almost. I'm curious if there is like more to this that I just don't know about. But yeah, we're almost like 30 minutes in, and there is another segment.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I feel like we gave a good cover of Bards. I think I tried to get like a bit more into a discussion about what they represent or whatever. And we boiled down the abilities too, so I think it's quite nice. It was good.
Right.
Monster of the week. Please take it away. Take it away.
If you were a bard,
yes,
let's say mid-level, you were on your own. What would you not like to face?
What would I not like to face? I don't know. I don't think I would like to face any type of monster when I'm on my own. I'd rather have a party with me.
All right, but what is the worst case scenario?
As like a mid-level, like maybe like tier 10 monster or something like this. Because otherwise the answer just becomes a Tarask, right?
Not that high CR. I'll give you the CR. It's CR4.
Oh, okay, that's pretty low actually. I feel like something that can cast silence or restrain me, get rid of my spellcasting modifiers. I'm already useless without being able to buff other creatures, so something like this would be very scary to me, I think.
Alright, someone that takes away the ability to spellcast.
Yeah.
Well, this creature kind of does that. It does not take it away, but it does make magical effects less useful. It's, you probably know this, the Helmed Horror.
Oh,
the upgrade of the animated armor.
Yeah, I like vaguely know about this creature. It's one of these things you very easily skip over when you look for the monster manual, because it's just another one of these like stereotypical like minion type of enemies. I think they're one of the only creatures that has force resistance or immunity. It's very unique in that regard, but I don't remember much else about them.
Does have damage immunities with force, necrotic, and poison.
Yeah, so force is like one that you very rarely see. That's something that's very unique about this creature. Mm-hmm. I don't know much else.
The condition immunities, because it's a construct, is the thing that would scare me the most as a bard. because it cannot be blinded, it cannot be charmed, deafened, frightened, paralyzed, petrified, poisoned, or stunned.
It's pretty typical construct, right?
You cannot
not
stop
have
this
those.
thing. That, in combination that it has a 30 flying speed.
Wait, they can fly?
Yeah.
They have like super heavy armor, right?
That is correct.
It's kind of weird. How do you make a Helmed Horror? Where do they come from?
They are just
Because they're not elementals.
animated armors. They're the upgrade of constructs, basically.
They're not the upgrade of constructs.
No, definitely not combat wise, but on intelligence wise, because the Helmed Horror has an intelligence of 10.
Oh, so they're better minions.
Yeah.
Yeah, but how do you make one?
That is something that does not mention, sadly. In here.
It's not mentioned at all?
No.
It's crazy.
But I reckon it's some kind of conjuration stuff.
Yeah, well, that would be if you conjure it from another plane, right? Oh no, I guess it's also the same for like making a golem or something.
Yeah. Well, the sources of building this thing is different, but it's mentioned that it's a lot more costly building one Helmed Horror than building, say, 10 animated armors, for example.
I see.
So whatever process is of creating a Helmed Horror, it's a lot more
exhaustive
and cost expensive.
I guess mostly like magically, because the armor is just, you need one set of armors out of 10.
It specifically mentions this Helmed Horror has tactical cunning. It fights with the intelligence of an experienced warrior.
Yeah.
And by that order, it says in the monster manual that it will focus magic casters first.
Oh, I do like that they throw that in, actually, that it uses tactical cunning.
A
lot of creatures within the monster manual, you kind of assume that they have this. But of course, the intelligence modifier is something that should really reflect this. Yeah. So it's interesting that if you are a wizard, and you're like, I could have like 10 suits of armor here, I could get like 10 cheap dudes, and then they'll just whack on whatever walks into my dungeon. Or I could have this one, like, specially trained dudes that can also kind of follow orders. Maybe I can even send them out to do things.
Yeah, no.
I think that's nice. There's like a conscious choice there if you're like a wizard wanting to build a protector or something.
Specifically, that the Helmed Horror, when given an order, does not take it literal. It understands the meaning of the order and the intentions behind it. Mm-hmm. So, if you say, like, defend this door, people going in the door, it will defend from, but people going out from the door, it will not, in that way. Where a normal construct would be like, oh no, people come out of the door, they also, like, I need to defend the door.
Yeah, I feel like this is something that I don't really like about the way they frame like these kind of like construct minion type creatures. They do the same thing with skeletons, where they frame it as like they can follow very basic orders, but they cannot comprehend what it is. And it feels like they're trying to balance the way these low tier creatures work, because in a way you can now also talk your way out of encounters or kind of abuse the commands of these creatures have to bypass an encounter. I feel like it frames like evil wizards in a really weird manner where they're like, oh, I'm gonna reanimate these creatures and have them do dumb stuff. I don't think I'm phrasing this very well.
I mean,
I don't like the idea that you
that is the thing. Just instead of making an army of constructs, just make a couple of Helmed Horrors.
Yeah,
it's the versatility as well. You know, it's in the monster manual as well. So it's one of the original monsters of D&D. So.
Well, for 5e, I guess. I mean, the originals, that's a whole
let's not get into
kind of worms, right?
But going back on it...
Maybe wizard tech just isn't there yet. Maybe that's just a takeaway.
Just completing the stat block. The Helmed Horror has an armor class of 20.
Jesus, that's high.
Yeah,
for tier 4, that's pretty high.
Plate armor and a shield.
Yeah,
so Jesus. If you get to, finally destroy this thing, you might get to scavenge a nice plate armor.
Oh, that's actually really rewarding if you find them then.
Yeah.
That's cool.
But the scary thing for a bard is that it has magical resistance. And more specifically, it has spell immunity. And I'm gonna read this...
spell immunity? So you just can't be targeted?
I'm gonna read this specifically. The Helmed Horror is immune to 3 spells chosen by its creator.
Oh.
Typical immunities include Fireball, Heat Metal, and Lightning Bolt. So...
Those are mostly destructive spells. The examples I gave are mostly destructive spells.
Yeah, but if you piss off a wizard enough, and the wizard knows your archetype a bit, is gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna send this Helmed Horror after this, let's say, Warlock.
Oh my god!
And I'm gonna make him immune from Eldritch Blast, Armor of Agathist, and some other spell.
It's actually really cool because you can. It doesn't matter if you just use a Helm Horror as a throwaway enemy, unless you're a bad DM that just goes, okay, the first 3 spells they'll use, I'll make him immune to those. Don't do that, PSA. But if you have a BBG that knows the party, the Helm Horror is a very cool enemy to weaponize. And in fact, if you're very high level, because it's CR4, you can use this as more of like the lower tier minion, like maybe supporting the BBG. And then when the players try to use an AoE spell to get rid of these like hordes of Helm Horrors, and that fails, then they have to use their out of the box thinking.
Yeah,
that's cool.
That in combination with all the condition immunity it has, and it has damage resistance to non-magical. Actually, it has resistance from non-magical weapon attacks. But it does get full damage from adamantine weapons.
How many hit points does it have?
80. Sorry, 60.
60. Yeah, okay. But with resistance, it's tier 4. Maybe you don't necessarily have the weapons yet that deal magic damage. That seems like it's quite a nice enemy. I mean, you do have to be a bit smart the way you use it, right? Because I think a party of 4 can waltz past it pretty quickly if they don't use the spells that may be immune for. But otherwise, it can still be an interesting encounter, especially with that CR20. That's cool. Even though it seems like a very generic enemy, right? Because it's just a dude with a sword.
They're intelligent as well. They're technically cunning, as I repeated, so they can use their environment to their advantage.
Yeah.
So they can maybe go to party and, if it's familiar with the terrain, lure them into a couple of traps before engaging in actual combat.
Can it speak at all?
It does understand the languages of its creator, but it cannot speak.
Okay, so it's not like it can lead lower tier minions or anything like this. It's still always at the behest of its creator, because it cannot give orders like down.
No, it does not.
Okay.
But
so that does kind of reduce the potential of using that as like the main enemy for a lower tier dungeon, because it doesn't have agency. But I guess you could still rule that, like, I don't know, what would be an interesting way to use this?
I'd say it's one magical item, like a Helm of Telepathy or something, away from being able to do this.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, actually, I'm not too sure, because it can speak. And then, if it follows orders, then the orders would have to be very precise, right? You'd have to, like give it a 20-page document with what to do. You have to code it, basically. Wizards would have to learn coding.
It's basically intelligence as well. Like, if you say, protect this dungeon to the best of your ability, and you give, like, these are the resources you can use, like a couple of minions and a couple of traps, I think it can make something nice of that.
Yeah, maybe that's true, actually.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah, fair enough. I think the way I would use it, though, is I would use it as like a tool that the BBEG would use in a campaign. And then you could just send one of these things over to maybe some minor bad guy, just with the directive, assist these dudes. And then what could be interesting is if the player's very low level, or maybe like 3-4, appropriate CR for this creature, they go into like some goblin camp, and they're there to wipe it out for the quest maybe. if then there's a Helmed Horror that's protecting them, and then they capture some goblins, and these goblins are like, we don't know why it's here, but it's helping us. That's an amazing plot hook to then later introduce this BBG. Because, like, early on in the campaign, they were already, like, working from the shadows. I think the Helmed Horror is a cool way to introduce things like that. It can tie things together nicely.
Because it can't speak, it also can't give anything away. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like that interpretation.
Yeah, I think it's just interesting. It's always a creature I've overlooked because it looks so generic with like its armor and its swords.
It's pretty scary.
It has no face. That's what I remember.
I do want to pick up that earlier I said, like you should make the spell immunity to necrotic or to Eldritch Blast, but that would be useless because it already has damage immunities for force and necrotic. So.
Yeah. Well, if you have like warlocks that really piss you off because you only Eldritch Blast things, send one of these things over to them. That's another great use. All warlock party, fucking throw one of these at them, see how they react.
Helmed Horrors are definitely deadly to warlocks, especially. Yeah. But I think I wouldn't want to encounter one as Bard either.
I think for a warlock it would be even more scary, but for a bard it's very true. Because especially for a warlock, if you have your 2 spell slots, right? If one of those 2 spells is the one it's immune for, you're down half your resources. You can't use Eldritch Blast. Good luck. Like, ouch. But the same is true for bards. I think it goes for any spellcaster that's alone, right? You don't want to face this thing if it's gonna like just be like, oh, nice spell you got there. Too bad it doesn't work.
I mean, if you spit this against a fighter. The fighter is gonna get a plate armor, and it's gonna have a tough time with the resistance against non-magical attacks. But
but even then, it's something that can be circumvented more so because
its damage output is actually not that high because it has a longsword.
That uses shield, so it's only a D8. I'm assuming.
Yeah.
But
it does have a multi-attack. 2 attacks.
And then I'm assuming it's 2d8 or something like this, right?
You can always give him, like he's depicted here as well, with like triple flail.
Oh, yeah.
So you can definitely upgrade that.
Just give him a flame tongue, dude. Nothing wrong will happen. Just giving a magic weapon.
Just give him a divine sword or something.
So this is +5.
That'll definitely make this thing a lot more scary.
Yeah. But then, also for balancing, then your players can loot the half-plate and the magical weapon, and then the fighters become unstoppable when you have to balance that again. So so maybe be careful with that too.
It's a challenge for the spellcasters, but it's a reward for the marshals.
Yeah. Or you can be like really shitty and be like, this Helmed Horror is modeled after a halfling, so the armor doesn't fit because it's too small. You can also do one of those if you only have like one size category within the party.
You can do that, but then you can't give it magical armor because magical armor grows to the user.
Yeah, but I don't think you would use magical armor, right? Because the Helmed Horror, like I feel like the armor is part of the construct.
No, but it's
a construct, right?
It might be, true, but you can make constructs of magical armor.
So you would also buff that as well.
Yeah,
I feel like that's almost like more homebrew territory, though. At that point,
I mean. It is what 5e wants you to do. It gives you the staple stat blocks, but it does say it's not like final, right?
I don't know. I feel like that's a very controversial take, saying that the 5e book wants you to homebrew. I mean, if you look at the pages that describe homebrew to you within all of the 3 original books, so that'd be the DM's Guide, Player's Handbook, and Monster Manual,
I'd say
there's not that many pages that are like, oh, here's a workshop on how to create your own things. I feel like
not creating your own things, but editing things. I think they're a lot more open to that.
But that's the thing that is kind of consistent throughout most role-playing games. I don't think D&D 5e specifically... What do you mean?
Have you never edited a stat block?
That's not an argument. You can be like, but you edited it, so your point is invalid.
The thing is, I think it's happening a lot.
No, it's happening a lot, but I don't think D&D 5e is inviting people to do it that much. It's just possible, because that's the case with most role-playing games. But I think D&D 5e especially also works very well, because you can just play it because there's so many resources you can slap together and just have work, right? It's a reason why I can take goblins that are a pre-existing thing and have their own lore in D&D, combine it with the concept of a BBG and Helmed Horror, and create an interesting concept. Because it's very easy to slap together, but it's not homebrewing per se. So that's why D&D 5e appeals a lot to newer players, right? The more we have this boom with all these new people coming in. Anyways, it's kind of sorry to really zoom in on that one point and deconstruct it. Yeah, we discussed this earlier. I like to rant.
I'm not. I'm all for like editing things.
Yeah, of course. I'm not saying you shouldn't. I think you should actually, because not everything in D&D 5e makes that much sense. But to say that is what the book wants you to do, I don't know. But
that's right. Perhaps I should say the community more than the book.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, okay, that's fair. But then that's also how you integrate into the community, right? Because you make things, and that's how people find you. So, anyways, this is not an interesting thing to
rules
discuss.
as written, there are a lot of exploits with interactions and spells and infinite things you can do, like the coffee lock.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
but you could say that's just a design flaw, right? That they're not putting mistakes in their book to be like, hey, you should fix our problems. Look how interactive our book is. That's not how that works, right?
No, but they never said like, the coffee lock is a problem. Here's the fix. You know.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Actually, maybe they have. I don't know. People tweet at these people all the time, right? Oh yeah, I guess there's not a fix for that. Yeah, fair.
So they leave that open to interpretation. I'd say it's a bit of a jump, but possibly house rules at least.
Yeah, I mean that's a part of these RPGs.
Yeah. But I think that's a nice place to wrap up. The Helmed Horror, the Bards. Any final thoughts, conclusions, retrospectives?
So as I've played like one session of Bard, before I like really understood how to play, I guess it was like years back. And I was like too zoomed in on these non-combat mechanics as a bard. So I don't have much experience playing it, but looking at all of the way these things interact, I think I could really recommend trying out a bard. I think I'll do that for my next campaign, maybe play a bard, because it seems like it's one of these classes that really comes together.
I mean, I don't think there'd be a problem if there are two bards in one party.
No, I've heard like stories of all bard parties, and that's totally viable. I mean, that's the case for any party, because you should just play what you want to play.
Imagine being a fighter and having like three attacks on your turn, and making all 3 attacks with a bardic inspiration because you have like 3 bards in your party or something.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's cool. Also, you can use your different debuffs, like stack them onto one enemy. That's also very funny. It's like you're frightened and you're slowed
and you're blind.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. That's just kind of bards kind of do go hard on those things.
I think that's also one. So if you're struggling with maybe I shouldn't be a bard because someone's already being a bard, fucking play a bard, dude.
Yeah,
they're cool.
There's enough flavor. There's enough. Jack of trades will make sure nothing is. You can always do something to help.
If you're in
expertise is for making your character a bit more personalized and special.
Yeah, especially I think take your time to think what you want to do with the bards and then go there, because the options are there. If you're playing a barbarian, you're gonna be a dude that whacks shit with his axe, and there's not much beyond that. With a bard, you can go so many different directions. It's really something you can make your own. So take some time for that and just play a bard because they're cool. I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you for listening, and hopefully till soon.